You're listening to Big World Network.
Phineas Frakture and the Terror of Dr. Malundi, Episode 1, written by Joseph Gatch, read by Michael Young. London's Whitechapel district. Nowhere in the city will you find a more wretched collection of human despair. This is the final resting place of the downtrodden, lost souls, opium addicts, prostitutes, and the playground for one of the city's most infamous serial killers. Constable Louis Q. Lamplighter, one of the less fortunate lawmen for the Queen, happened to draw his duty in this district on this ill-fated night. He stood on the corner with his back to the wall of an abandoned apothecary, making sure that none of the many desperate denizens of the neighborhood could sneak up on him and slice his throat or stick a shiv into his kidney. He stomped his feet to keep warm, for the night was unusually chill. The fog, thicker than usual, seemed to make that chill even more biting. Shapes moved in the fog, barely discernible, and they were gone as quickly as they appeared. At this late hour, the eyes could play tricks on a person. The gaslight cast shadows that, when mingled with the fog, could look like a person, or worse. There were enough fiends running around London. The notorious serial killer, and most wanted of criminals, was right here in the district that Lamplighter was in, this very moment. What a feather in his cap that would be, if he were to bring that blighter in on his own. It would mean an instant promotion to detective sergeant, maybe even inspector. Lamplighter dared to dream, but first he would have to catch the bugger. An odd noise caught Lamplighter's attention. It wasn't there a moment ago. Or was it? It was hard to tell. The fog was so thick that it muffled sound 2 feet away. It was sort of a chirp, chirp, chirp sound, steady and continuous. Throwing caution to the wind, not to mention that he was as bored as hell out here in the night, Lamplighter swung his billy club in a circle as he walked towards the sound. A scream pierced the fog, and the constable stopped and looked around. A second scream, followed by laughter, came closer, as 2 late-night revellers staggered past, sauced to the gills on gin. The lady, if she could be called that, hung onto a burly boiler-man's arm. Lamplighter paid them no heed. He knew what they were up to, but he didn't wish to waste his time bringing in another prostitute, who would be back on the streets tomorrow. He resumed his quest and followed the chirping through the fog. A squat shape, about half the size of a water barrel, appeared before him in the middle of the street. The chirping definitely came from this container, though he saw no reason for it to be making such a sound. The thing was metal, with a flat top and bottom, while the body bulged outward like a kettle pot. Several valves were positioned around the sides, along with many wires that went here and there. A small light on the top flashed in time to the chirping. Lamplighter, having no mechanical background whatsoever, couldn't fathom what this thing was. Maybe the boys back at the yard could figure it out. That is, if he wanted to take the time to drag it back there. There was another scream. This time he knew the difference between partiers and someone who was in trouble. Lamplighter abandoned the device and raced around the corner into an alley. It was a rookie mistake, but the call of duty overrode any thought of personal safety. He proceeded through the fog and could make out a dark shape a few feet away. A man stood up wearing a black coat and top hat. The fog parted for a few seconds, and Lamplighter could see a woman lying on the ground with her stomach butchered open. The glint of a knife caught the constable's attention, and Lamplighter raised his club. "Hold on there! What do you think you're doing?" Lamplighter said. Realization dawned on him. "Wait a minute! You're the Ripper! I got you!" Jack the Ripper, butcher of Whitechapel, slowly started forward. Blood dripped from the knife that he held. Lamplighter backed away, keeping his distance. He reached for his whistle and blew it several times, praying that there was another constable within earshot. Behind him, the kettle chirped louder and faster, but he paid it no mind. Jack came into the light, exposing his face. The constable gasped. "You!" the lamplighter exclaimed. "Never in a million years would I have suspected you, and neither would the yard. I'm going to be famous, I am. The man who captured Jack the Ripper, and he's none other than—" The chirping stopped. In the blink of an eye, Constable Lamplighter, the infamous Jack the Ripper, and the entire district of Whitechapel were wiped from the face of the city. 2 days later. Whitechapel? Why does that sound familiar? Abigail Bentley, pilot, mechanic, girlfriend, wiped a layer of soot off of her arms. Sheesh, this stuff just collects on you, doesn't it? How do these people stand this filth? Maybe that is why they want to take over the world, to get away from the disaster that they created for themselves. Phineas Frakture put on his goggles, but soon they too were covered in a black layer. "Are you trying to get us all killed?" asked William Patterson, the third member of their party. "Remember, we're here as guests. No sense in insulting an entire nation while we're here. At least not until we are departing. If you bother to read the papers, Whitechapel is where that rapper fellow has been killing women." "I think he's called the Ripper," corrected Abigail. "Ripper, rapper, who cares?" said Phineas. "The brochure I found said that this hotel was the premier spot to stay while in London. Top class." "So, you booked us a hotel that has a murderer stalking around it. Swell," said Abigail. "He only kills prostitutes," stated William. "At least that's what the papers say." "See, nothing to worry about," said Phineas, "unless you plan to take up that profession while you are here." Abigail growled something under her breath, and left it at that.
"Well, it would be nice if we could find a place in all this fog and soot," said William. "Maybe our rooms have a panoramic view of the factories. What time is it here, anyway?"
"It's 9:15 in the morning," declared a voice in the fog. "All right, this is really creepy. Where are you?" asked Abigail. "To your left, Mum. Right under the lamp-post. You'll get used to navigating the fog soon enough. Thick's this one, but it'll burn off by noon." "That's all and well," said Phineas. "But how do we get through it now? We need to get to Whitechapel as soon as possible." "Whitechapel?" a second voice laughed. "Shouldn't be going there. Rough neighbourhood, that is." "We have reservations," stated Phineas. "I would too, if I was you," said the first. "But if you really want to go there, there's a hansom just down the street. He'll get you to where you want to go. Just tell him Smitty sent you, and he'll take good care of you."
"Thank you, good sir," said William. "See, they're not all monsters in this country."
"Not all," said Phineas. After they were out of earshot, Smitty turned to his companion. "Bloody American tourists, always looking for excitement in others' misery, they are. Maybe they'll get what's common to them down on the East End. There'll be 3 less Yanks we have to take care of once the war starts." "Good riddance," proclaimed his companion.
You're listening to Big World Network.